I'm Malcom Reed. Today I'm doing a little experimenting. I've got a chuck roast. I'm going to see if I can turn it into burn ends that are as good or better than brisket point burn ends. Now I've seen this done before on the internet where they'll season the roast, smoke it, cube it up, treat it just like brisket point. I'm going to do things a little different. I'm going to cube it up from the start, then get my seasoning on it into the smoke. That way it develops bark all around each of these burn end morsels. And they're pretty inexpensive. That's why it's a great piece of meat to turn into some fake burn ends. The first thing I'm going to do to it is get it cubed up. And I'm going to try to cut these into about 1-inch cubes. First I'm going to start across the chuck roast. That looks good. And now I want to come back and cube these pieces. So we're just going to turn them on their sides. But what it's making is these little bitty cubes of chuck roast. What I'm going to do now is kind of spread them out, and we're going to get some seasoning on all sides of them. I'm just starting with some barbecue rub. You could use whatever you want. This is my The Barbecue Rub. Anything you would put on a brisket is going to be great. I'm also going to put on a little bit of texture. I'm using my TX rub. It's basically coarse salt, coarse black pepper, but it's going to give a nice little crunch to these burn ends when they're done. That looks good. This is what we're going to cook these burn ends on, and what I'm going to do is spray them with a little bit of cooking spray so they don't stick. You want to give them enough space to where the smoke, the heat can get around them. You don't really want them touching. So I'm just going to let these burn end pieces hang out here on the cutting board while I fire up my pit. Now I'm using my Gateway drum today, running some Royal Oak lump charcoal. Got a couple tumbleweeds to get those coals good and hot. I've also got my Barbecue Guru set. I'm running it at 275 degrees. That's going to hold that pit steady the entire cook where I don't have to worry about it. Now when the pit stabilizes, I'm going to add some smoker wood. I'm using pecan today. Put my rack in place. We'll be ready to put the burn ends on the grill. All right, the drum is up to temp. I got that pecan wood rolling. I'm just going to place these racks right on the cooking grate, and we'll get the lid closed because now they just need some time in the smoke. We've been on for 2 hours, and now our chuck roast burn ends are starting to look like the real deal. They've got that bark all the way around them. Now what I'm going to do is move each one of these to an aluminum pan. Just kind of stack them in rows. You could dump them in if you wanted to. What I've done is mix some beef broth, about ½ a cup, with 1 cup of barbecue sauce. You could use any kind of barbecue sauce you want. I just used my The Barbecue sauce. I'm going to drizzle this over the top. Give us some liquid to the pan. And I'm going to cover the top of the pan. It's going to trap all the heat inside. It's going to build up steam. It's going to build up heat. That's what's going to really break these burn ends down. They're going right back on the pit. Probably for about 1.5 hours, we'll check on them, see what they're like. So we've been rolling about 1 hour and 45 minutes in the pan. I want to get them off, get them over to the cutting board. Let's just see how tender we are. I'm not worried about internal temperature. I'm looking for that squishy factor. That's what I want to see. I think that's it. I mean, that broke right apart. It's tender as it can be. I mean, look at this. When you can take that burn end and almost mash right through it, that's where you want them. Little nuggets of deliciousness. So these chuck roast burn ends have sat here and cooled off about as long as I can stand because they look like burn ends. They passed that test. But now I want to find out what they taste like. So I'm going to go in, get me one of those soft ones. It's good. Real good. And these are surprisingly really good. Is it as good as a brisket point cooked down, turned into burn ends? Not even close. But for a fake burn end, it'll pass. You know, it's good enough I'm gonna have to go back and get some more.